Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Transformation Tuesday. Greetings from beautiful Hobart. Check this out, I've got the fire going. Look at this. It's Tasmania. It's cold outside. In here it's nice and cozy and it's nice and warm. And I'm back here from my childhood house. I'm just going to wait for a few people to jump on. And tonight we're going to, for those of you that are jumping on the replay, hello. For those of you that are tuning in live, hello. Good to be here with you again. Give us a shout out, hello, as you jump on, guys. Hope you're well this week. I'm coming to you live from my house this is my childhood home in Hobart, and I've just come back to Hobart this week to, hey Dora, how you doing? I've just come back to Hobart this weekend, and I've just run a business mastery weekend. It was called the Business Mastermind Training. So it was awesome to hang out with some incredible business owners looking to take their business to the next level. While I'm back here visiting my little niece for her birthday here in Tasmania, I'm rocking out and thought I'd share some nuggets of wisdom with some entrepreneurs yesterday. So one of the topics that I'm going to be diving deep into in the coming week, which is the theme of this week, is productivity. Now, productivity, that doesn't really sound really exciting, does it? Productivity. Well, the reason why I want to share with you productivity is because this is the master skill of life. Productivity, when we master productivity, is how we master our life. This is how we truly get shit done. This is how we create a legacy. This is how we create a successful business. This is how we squeeze the maximum amount of juice, the maximum amount of enjoyment, the maximum amount of vitality into our life is by being productive. So I'm going to share with you some nuggets of wisdom tonight that can help you at least double your productivity. If you follow what I'm going to tell you, it will double your productivity depending on what you're currently doing. And it's also going to help you gain a lot more consistency in your output in either your business, your career, or just in life in general. So without further ado, I'm going to dive straight into it. And if you guys have got questions along the way, I would love to hear your questions. I'll do the best to answer all your questions as they pop up. Hope you guys are doing well. I'd love to also hear your productivity suggestions that you guys have learned along the way. Hey Sarah, yeah, this is a familiar setting. This is a beautiful place. This has got a lot of beautiful family memories. This is where we usually have our Christmas tree just over here in this space just behind me here. Anyway, guys, I'm going to dive straight into this. So productivity, why is this important? Well, as I said, when we become more productive, when we maximize our productivity, then our life goes to the next level. We can fit more in, we can get more done in less time, and it's not like we've got a finite existence in terms of the duration, the number of years that we're going to live for. But when we become more productive, it's like extending our life because we now get more done in less time. So it's like accumulating more years, getting access to a greater number of years in our life. So the key master skill that sits behind productivity is goals. Is goal setting. We've got to get super, super clear on what are our goals. What do we actually want to create in this life? Goals in all the different contexts of our lives. Goals in the context of health, goals in the context of money, career, business, lifestyle, relationships. That's the starting point. Because if we're not starting with the end in mind, then we really are living rather unconsciously. We're kind of going with the flow. So goals is the starting point of this. Now, when we have an idea about what we're actually wanting to create and get super clear on that, that's the first step, is getting clear on what we want to create. The next step is getting clear on what's important. Hey Aiden, good to see you here, brother. The next step is getting super clear on what's actually important. So getting clear on our core values. What are the driving principles that are driving us in life? And understanding that when we have alignment between our goals and our values, we experience more flow. We experience a harmonizing effect of what we're doing in life. And instead of experiencing resistance, we experience more flow. So we get clear on our goals and they're very, very clear on our priorities, which are our core values. Now, this then translates into when we're attacking our day, we now have clarity on what we're doing it, why we're doing it, what's important, as opposed to just rocking up and just sitting down at your laptop and just looking at it going, oh, what am I going to do today? So the first thing is getting clear on what are your goals. Now, when I talk about goals, hey, good evening, Rod. How you doing, brother? Good to see you in Melbourne on Saturday. When we talk about our goals, we've got to get crystal clear about our goals are ultimately the tangible milestones about how do we turn our dream life into reality. So what does that mean? Well, we've got to start by mapping out goals, right? So we've got to have weekly goals. We've got to have monthly goals. We've got to have quarterly goals, and we've got to have yearly goals. We simply must have those milestones laid out in front of us. Otherwise, we're going to live unconsciously. We're going to just randomly wait, wish, and hope for life to happen to us. So the first step is to really get clear on all of our goals. Before we do anything, this is the thing. A lot of people think productivity is just about just hustle, 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 do more, just be more focused. Look, that's a part of it, but that's only going to get you so far. Hey, Gulu, I hope that's how you pronounce your name, Gulu. Great to see you here. So this is the first thing, is to recognize that being more productive, it's not about putting in more effort necessarily. Being more productive is about outsmarting our task. It's about outthinking our problem. And as Einstein said, we can't solve a problem with the same level of thinking that created it. So in order to get more productive, we have to think differently. So the way that we're thinking is we have to think with the end in mind, as good old Stephen Covey says, and we've got to start mapping out all of our goals in time increments, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually, and then ideally, when we get clear on our vision, we now have 1, 2, 5, 10-year goals. So this is the way that we consciously design our life. If we don't have goals in life, then we're randomly drifting, and we're randomly just floating down the river in life without a paddle, not actually knowing where we're going. So that's the first master skill that leads to productivity, is to actually have clear written goals. Now, the next step is to start to prioritize those. We've got to have a clear idea about what are our priorities in life. Now, give me a shout out if you can relate to, some of you might have to-do lists. Some of you might have just big, long lists, and it's like, great, I've now got this massive to-do list. But sometimes it doesn't actually help you, because it's just a list of stuff. And it's like, well, now I'm just overwhelmed because I've now got a big, long list of stuff. So I always recommend people start with a list in terms of doing a brain dump and getting everything out of your head, ideally starting with your goals first. And then what you do is you then chunk your goals down into sub-steps. You then chunk them down into very small and micro steps. Now, there's some major flaws, some major things that people, major mistakes that people make when it comes to productivity that I want to give you guys an insight into. Love it, not anymore. Good on you, Gulu. That's the way. I'm going to share with you some other strategies about how to sort of chunk that down. But one of the major things that people do is they get all their goals down, or they get everything down, or maybe not, they don't get anything down. But what that can do is it can cause procrastination, it can cause overwhelm, it can cause a sense of, oh, well, I want to do it all, so I'm not going to do any of it. Then maybe they're lacking motivation because they don't know where to start. So the first thing is recognizing that we've got to get super clear on, well, what's the order and what's the sequence of the tasks that we want to do? What's the priority of all the goals and the tasks that we want to do? That's the starting point, because if we don't have clarity on the order and the priority and the sequence, then that leads to overwhelm, which is one of the major causes of procrastination, which is one of the major killers of productivity. So the first thing we've really got to do is get all the ideas, get all the plans, get all the goals mapped down, then work out what's the most important. Then we've got to start to rank them and prioritize them. So that's the first thing, is we should never be working off a random jumbled up to-do list. We've always got to have a sequenced, ordered, well thought out prioritized list. So in order to do that, we need to prioritize planning. That's right, planning. So Brian Tracy International, they've done research on this, and they've found that for every minute that you invest in planning, you save 10 minutes on the back end in productivity. Well, how does that work? How does that work? Well, when you invest in planning, it's like you designing your set of house plans. It's like going for council permission. It's designing the house. It's going to see an architect. It's going to see a builder before you start building the house randomly, before you start putting the bricks up and start just pouring concrete. So it's the same with your schedule. It's the same with your life. It's the same with planning your week, your day, your year, your life. So we simply must make planning a non-negotiable. When we make planning a non-negotiable in our life, there's a huge return on investment from this time that we save, the time that we get back from not fluffing around, failing doing the stuff that doesn't matter, doing things incorrectly, executing in the wrong order. So planning is the key here. Now, we've got to set aside planning at regular increments. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, I recommend that we set aside planning every Sunday. Now, again, depending on when you start your week, for me, the start of my week's Sunday. So every Sunday afternoon, we have a team planning meeting. I do my own personal planning, and that maps out all of my goals, everything I've got to do for the week. And that's at least, as a minimum, for me, for my own personal business planning, that's an hour every Sunday. Now that lets me get clear on all of my priorities, lets me get super clear on everything that's coming up, the look ahead for the next week, but also checking ahead on the next month. So that's the first thing, is weekly planning as a minimum we've got to invest in. Now, we've also got to invest in daily planning. We've simply got to do daily planning. Every morning, or preferably the night before you go to bed, plan out the day, the next day. Get super clear on what are the priorities for the next day. So what are the goals? What are the projects? Who are the people that I need to reach out to? Who are the people that I'm waiting on? What are the activities? And then chunking the activities all the way down. And then starting to schedule those in. This leads to the next step, is starting to schedule these into blocks of time. So this is the ultimate. When we actually use our calendar as our secret weapon, when we use our calendar to block out our week, to block out our life, when we think in chunks of time, that's the way to extract the most amount of productivity out of our week. Because think about it, if you've actually got scheduled appointments and scheduled blocks of time throughout your week and you commit to them, that's like locking in getting those jobs done, as opposed to randomly waiting for a gap in the day to actually do those things. So we've got to actually start to schedule our life. We have to schedule planning. We have to schedule productivity. We have to schedule major projects. We've got to schedule it, because what gets scheduled actually happens. So that's the key to this, is really actually scheduling our time in our calendar. Hey Zani, I'm just going to see if I can read your comment here. Having a structure has made a massive difference for you. I was so bad at it before. Yeah, totally. This is what we're talking about. We're talking about integrating structure. Thanks for the comment. I haven't always been good at structure. It's one of those things where it can be a learned skill. So we've got to create the structure in and around our life, around planning, and so that we can execute and such we can be more productive. So look, there's not nearly enough time here tonight for me to cover all of this. I'm just giving you a very, very small snippet of what's beneath the iceberg. So anyway, I'm going to be going deeper, like far deeper in the rest of this week, because the theme for this week is productivity. So I just wanted to touch here on another major killer of productivity is perfectionism. Now, perfectionism it's a productivity killer. Perfectionism is, for those of you that don't know, perfectionism is having such a low standard disguised as a high standard, right? That people think that they think they have high standards. They think, they call themselves, I'm a perfectionist. But in reality, it's a cop-out. It's people are afraid of being judged, they're afraid of failing, they're afraid of not being successful. So what they do is they don't actually strive. They'd rather set a realistically high standard and never even bother going for it, which is the definition of perfectionism. Yeah, exactly. Perfectionism is overrated. Perfectionism is actually a lack of a standard. So a much better standard, if we're wanting to maximize our productivity, is to recognize, look, done is better than perfect. Simply block out some time, set ourselves a timer. This is what I recommend. I recommend you set your timer, set it for, say, a 50-minute block of time, which is less than an hour, which means you now use Parkinson's law to your advantage. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with Parkinson's law is fantastic, because Parkinson's law says that whatever block of time we have available to complete a task, we will use that time. Now, for those of you that have been at university or submitted assignments and that sort of stuff before, you'll probably relate that when your lecturer gives you 3 weeks to do an assignment, you take 3 weeks to do an assignment. If the lecturer gave you 1 week to do it, you'd do it in 1 week. So it's the same thing when we're setting standards for our day and for how we block out time and how much time we set for ourselves to do tasks. So a key part here is to gamification. It's gamification of your day. Turn your productivity into a game, right? So you've got a project or a task to do. Set yourself a block of time to do it and just go for it. And you're literally competing with yourself. You give yourself the time, you block it out, and you just go for it. So it's like a competition. Now that's one of the ways to get the most productivity out of your time, because you're now competing with yourself. Hey, thanks, Dora. Yeah. So look, that's how to really schedule your tasks to get the most out of your day. Now, another key factor here that kills productivity, which leads to procrastination, is the fear of failure, right? So people are so preoccupied with, what if I don't get this right? What if it doesn't look good, right? So people are so worried about being judged by others, which is essentially outsourcing our emotional self-worth, our opinion of ourselves to others. So when we're so caught up with worrying about how someone else is going to judge us, that is the fastest way to indulge in the fear of failure. Now, if we're worried about how someone else is going to judge us, I got news for you. You're outsourcing your self-worth. You're outsourcing your self-love. You're outsourcing all of your self-esteem to the opinion of someone else, which is fucked. And this is one of the major killers of productivity. So I'll touch on another major killer of productivity here, which is lack of motivation. Now, you're probably noticing most of the things I'm talking about here, it's in the domain of mindset. Being more productive, it's not about having, Like, yes, some structure can help, and yes, having some fancy to-do lists and having some fancy online management software, that helps. But the core of it here, and 80% of what leads to success, has been spoken about by guys like Jim Rohn and Tony Robbins, is mindset. So this is the thing, and thanks to Zania, yeah, what people think of us is fucked. We shouldn't give a fuck what anyone else thinks about us in terms of driving our self-worth. We should have self-worth, self-love for who and what we are, regardless of what anyone else says. So where was I? I was talking about I was talking about something. I was talking about productivity. So I was talking about lack of motivation. And a lot of these factors that I'm talking about here, 80% of what leads to success is mindset. So yes, structure is important. Yes, having some systems is important, which certainly helps. But the core of what I want to share with you tonight really is the mindset around productivity. That's the key. That is the key to all of this. It's transforming our thinking such that we are so incredibly motivated, that we are so resilient, that whenever the distractions come up, whenever the rainy days come when we don't feel like it, we have that motivation, we have that core drive inside us to remain motivated, to be inspired, to really put our best foot forward. So again, creating motivation, which is, again, the way we create motivation is tapping into our purpose. It's really understanding, well, for what purpose am I doing this? It's asking that question exactly. For what purpose am I doing this? What are the benefits of this? And visualizing it, feeling it, experiencing it, using internal dialogue, all these amazing kind of internal mental techniques to drive that sense of motivation. That's critical here. That's what's underlining all of that. Hey, Daniel, good to see you here, brother. So really getting clear on our sense of purpose is one of the foundational principles of being more productive. Now, what sits in with that is what I call our conscious intention. Now, a conscious intention is whenever you sit down to do a task, sit down to do a project, is you actually want to pick, what do I want my mindset to be around this? What do I energetically want to bring to this task in terms of who am I being? Who am I showing up as? I.e., do I want to bring fierce focus, or do I want to bring lightness and ease and joy, or do I want to bring humor? You can bring anything to a task that you want to do depending on what you want to get out of it. Now, sometimes you might want to put on some, this is what I do, I put on music every now and then. Now, depending on what mood I want to be in, depending on the task that I want to do, if I'm writing some content, if I'm doing a blog, I might put on some really inspiring classical music. If I'm really just wanting to power through some admin tasks, I might put on some upbeat techno, some dance music, some sort of rock music, AC/DC. So it really just depends as well. And using all these triggers to get us into state is really powerful as well. So using music, using breathing exercises, making sure we're adequately hydrated. There's lots of these sorts of strategies and tools and techniques that I'm going to be sharing a lot more with you. And this sort of also ties into what's known as flow state triggers, which are, there's a whole swag of different factors we can utilize in terms of physiological, pharmacological, environmental, all these different factors we can revert to maximize that productivity. So I'm going to start sharing more of these throughout the rest of the week because this is productivity week. But for tonight, I'm just going to keep it short and sharp and keep this really focused. Another strategy that I highly recommend is every hour having a regular cyclical meditation process. Now, I have a meditation process that I teach all my clients, which is every hour we do a breathing process, which is where you stop, you clear your mind, you be present, you come back to a present state awareness, you bless yourself, you bless others with love, and you really come back to this really connected state of being. Now, you do that every hour on the hour, every single day for the whole entire day. Now, what that does is it means that you're able to stay fully connected and present as much as you possibly can at these intervals to remind us to be aware, to be present, and to come back and connect with our purpose, connect with our sense of our why. So setting up time, I literally set up timers on my phone. My timers go off every single hour, and it reminds me to connect and stay present. Now that's a meditational practice that I do every single day, in addition to the meditation in the morning, and in addition to meditation in the evening. Now that process, that keeps us connected throughout a whole entire day, which is powerful. Because the ego is a very, very cunning beast. So your ego will drag you into and will cause you to buy into your external environment. It'll cause you to buy into the chaos and putting out fires and the rushing and the madness. Whereas when you come back to present state awareness, you're able to actually recognize that we're actually projecting our reality at every moment, and we're actually able to come back and go, I'm now going to be in control of my projection. I'm in control of my reality. My level of consciousness has been elevated. My vibrational frequency has just been elevated because I'm now present about what I'm bringing to my day. Another major hack I want to give you guys to boost productivity is no distractions. Distractions are an absolute productivity killer. So the stats, I think, were from Brian Tracy again, which were every time you get distracted, there's a 500% loss in productivity. So i.e., if you turn your phone off, if you turn off notifications, if you close your door, if you turn off your emails, if you shut down all the distractions, you get 5 times as much done. It's ridiculous, right? So turn off notifications, turn off your phone. When you really want to get something done and you don't want to be disturbed, turn on all that crap and you'll get 5 times as much done. So this is a little known secret. Yeah, throw your kids out. That's a good one, Gulu. And forgive me if I pronounce your name wrong. But yeah, that's a good one. The kids would certainly be a challenge. I haven't had to deal with that challenge recently because my little nieces and nephew they're up at my sister's house. So I have very, very few distractions at the moment. Let's go on to the next one, which is block time. So block time is something that's really powerful because when you divide your weeks into blocks of time, when you divide your day into power blocks of time, what you're able to do is you're able to really visualize and schedule, making sure all the things that need to get attended to. For example, you block out time for education. You block out time for exercise. You block out time for free time. You block out time for planning. You block out time for all the core pillars of your business, maybe marketing, sales, prospecting, IT, innovation. So you now start creating blocks in your calendar so you can visually map out your whole entire day and your week, and you know, great. And you even color code it on your calendar. So you can now see I now have blocks of time. I have color coded blocks of time in my week so I can see exactly what I'm doing. Have I got the balance right? Now, when we need to attend to all the critical dimensions of our business in our life. So for example, for any business owner, the critical dimensions are going to be things like branding, marketing, social media, prospecting, sales, information technology. It's going to be outsourcing. It's going to be things like training, development. It's going to be innovation. It's going to be systems, admin, finances, all those kind of things. So we need to block out time to manage all of those things. Now, again, if you can delegate, if you can outsource a lot of those non-core roles, that's another massive way of radically boosting your productivity. Because another key variable we need to be aware of as a business owner, and I know there's a lot of business owners here on the call tonight, is we need to be very acutely aware of what is known as our average, it's essentially our average hourly rate. So it's essentially the amount of money that your business earns in a year divided by the number of hours that you work, and that is your effective hourly rate. So let's just say, for example, if your effective hourly rate is $200 an hour, and if you're now doing an activity that you could employ someone to do for $50 an hour, it doesn't make any sense to be doing that activity. You should outsource it. You should delegate it. So we need to be very, very acutely aware of, well, what is my effective hourly rate, and also what is the core of what are the core roles and responsibilities of me and what I need to be doing, and then be very, 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 very strict with how we delegate, how we outsource, and make sure that we're not focusing on the minutiae and the crap that we should be outsourcing, and really starting to get really targeted with what are we doing and why are we doing it. And I mean, look, if we're doing it because we like it, great. There are many things that I do that many people would say you probably shouldn't be doing that, but I kind of do it because I really enjoy doing it. So that's a different distinction. So if you're doing something because you like it, great, rock on. I'm a big fan of doing things sometimes because we enjoy it. But if you're doing something you don't particularly like it, but you find yourself doing it just because, really got to consider outsourcing, delegating, developing systems, or developing something to be able to outsource and delegate that process. So guys, I just want to keep this one super short. I've covered some major things here. Now, if you implement all of these things that I've just spoken about, then your productivity will at least double. It will at least double, because all of these factors have a profound impact on your day, how you process, how you manage your mind. Now, all of this stuff is managing your mind. Yes, there are some systems here. Yes, there are some structures. Yes, there are some kind of rituals. But ultimately, this is how we manage our mind. Productivity comes down to how we use our mindset. Now, when we master our mindset, we master our day. When we master our day, we master our week. When we master our week, we master our life. So this is critical. Thanks, Rod. So I'm just going to go through a bit of a recap. We had goal setting. Goal setting is incredibly powerful, and I just want to remind you guys that the Harvard graduating class that a lot of you might have heard about. They interviewed the graduating Harvard class of, I think it was 67, and they found that only 3% of that class had clear written goals. They then interviewed them a number of decades later, and they found that 3% of the class had the same net worth as the remaining 97. They had more than the 97% combined, right? So that's how powerful goals are. Goals are just incredibly powerful. Now, the thing about goals is they don't really sound that exciting, do they? But goals are a preview, or they're a preview. They're literally a preview of what's coming up in your life. When you set a goal, you literally are installing your future. That's what goals are doing. So I just want to reiterate that goals are so important, and goals are at the foundation of this principle. We've got to have clear priorities. We've got to know what's important and why it's important. We've got to start to plan our day. We've got to get very, very clear on our priorities. We've got to do weekly planning, daily planning, monthly planning, quarterly planning, annual planning. Definitely, we've got to schedule all this in our calendar. Everything we want to get done, we've got to schedule in the calendar. Cheers, Gulu. Yeah, discipline and habit. This is it. Like, we have to be disciplined. We have to be resilient. We have to be focused. We've got to decide that our life is more important than the distraction and the minutiae that we get dragged into. So we've got to care so much about our life that we're going to say, no, fuck that. I'm not getting drawn into that. I'm going to say no to that. I'm not going to get distracted. I'm going to go for this. I'm going to focus on this. So this is critical. We need to care about this. This matters, because if we're not productive, then we're going to miss out on a massive chunk of creating the life of our dreams. Hey, Bella, having done this, does it give you time for your own free time? Yeah, it does, Bella. I guess for me, I'm very, very fortunate in that most of my free time aligns with what I do for a living. I love what I do, so for me, I can work most of day, all day, every day, doing this because I love it. It's my mission, it's my passion, it's my obsession. So, but yes, it does give me extra free time to do what I want. But more importantly, it means that I can make more of an impact. It means I can grow my business faster. It means that ultimately I'm going to grow faster. It means I'm going to get more done. It means I'm going to earn more money. It means I'm going to leave a legacy. It means I'm going to create something even better. So for me, it's less about creating free time. It's more about creating impact. I'm all about, when I get to the end of my life, I want to say that I created something great for my life. Not necessarily from an ego point of view, but just to know that I did my best, to know that I turned up as the greatest version of me. So the other things I had said there were avoiding procrastination. I also said that we've really got to avoid doing the perfectionist pattern, which is really having low standards. We've got to get over the fear of failure. We've got to get over people judging us, because people are going to judge us no matter what. Outsourcing the opinion of others, outsourcing our self-worth to the opinion of others is not my idea of living a successful life, and we've got to be very, very conscious about overcoming that and doing our best to overcome that, and also tapping into our why. We've got to get super clear on why are we here? What is it that we're truly here to do? And why does this matter? Yeah, cheers, Bella. And the last couple we had where was set an intention. We had setting a conscious intention for what you're doing. It's developing hourly meditation practices, so every hour staying constant, staying in present state awareness. And it's about saying no to distraction. Hey, Nina, good to see you there. Hey, Prue, good to see you there. Yes, we've got to care about our life so much that we're willing to say no. We've got to care about our life so much that we're willing to eliminate the distraction, that we're willing to go all in, that we're willing to really tune into how do we sustain ourselves to the highest level of energy, levels of motivation, levels of purpose. We've got to care about this so much and recognize that by being able to produce more, by being a production machine, that means we can serve more. It means we can make a greater difference. It means we can be a greater role model. And because we can be a greater role model, this means that we now become a leader. And this is what this is about. It's about leadership. It's about showing others, right? It's about showing others how to show up. And particularly if you've got kids, if you've got young people around you, if you've got clients, this is what life is about. It's about being a walking, talking, shining example of the difference that we want to make in the world. Hey, Prue. Yeah. Boundaries equals self-love. Oh, look, that's a whole nother, yeah, that's right. That's a whole nother Facebook Live topic, self-love. And I won't drop into that one now, but thank you, Gula. That's an awesome one. Last couple were block time, so blocking out time, analyzing and defining our week in terms of structure, We've got to have color-coded blocks of time where everything is going to get done. It gets scheduled, and then also looking at things like music, breathing exercise, and movement, and getting up and standing around and walking around. So that's just a real recap of what we've just covered tonight. So thanks, Prue. Thanks so much. I'm just going to read that comment there. See what we got. Care about our life so much that we're willing to say no. High levels of energy production. Yeah, thank you. You're a legend. Thanks so much, Prue. Guys, that's pretty much it for tonight for Transformation Tuesday. We just want to keep this really short and sharp. This is productivity week, so I'm going to be pumping out some suggestions, some advice, some tools and tips on how to get more out of our day, how to get more out of our week, and how to get more out of our life. This is so important. This is the master skill of any business owner, of any professional human being, because when we produce more, we get more out of life. We're a greater leader. We're a role model. We're able to create a legacy. We're able to earn more money. This is the master skill that lets us create more impact. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Thanks, Gulu. Thanks, Prue. Thanks, Dora. Thanks, Nina. Hey, so good to see you guys here. Again, I just want to show you this. How cool is this fire here? Nice and cozy here in beautiful Tasmania. It's a little bit cold outside. It could be snow outside tomorrow. It's all good. I'm here, nice and cozy, and it's beautiful to be back here, back in my hometown. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, I love you guys lots. Wishing you a fantastic week. Thanks, Heba. Thanks, Nina. Yeah, it's beautiful here. Old family home. And I'm also looking forward to watching the soccer tonight. Aussies playing. I think it's Aussies playing Peru tonight. So go Aussie. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Lots of love, guys. Good to see you there, Luke. Thanks for all your comments, guys. And I will see you again very, very soon for next Transformation Tuesday. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Cheers, buddy. See ya. Bye.